Seasons come and go like thoughts of you. Like a wave returns to the sea, into the blue. They change but in a cycle that I can't lose. Each painful but delightful to live through. You came into my life dressed like another season. Not for long, just a time, dressed like another season. You came into my life dressed like another season. Not for long, just a time, dressed like another season. The seasons turn and change just like your mind. Like the sun gives into the moon, into the night. Time continues marching, it slowly crawls. With each new one starting, I recall. You came into my life just like another season. Not so long, just a time, just like another season. You came into my life just like another season. Not so long, just a time, just like another season. You came
Hello and welcome to Temporium. We are here casting the semifinals of the Fellow Tamers Minor Cup here today with the €200 prize pool. I'm Quarter and here's Causation here casting with me.
Yo.
The general way this is going to be broken down is I'm going to be doing the play-by-plays here today, and Causation's going to be here with these tasty calcs pulled straight from his forehead.
Yeah, directly from my forehead. They're written and I take them off of a mirror.
He's immensely pleased as well because we are basically guaranteed a scunch in the semifinals. It's quite impressive seeing how people have set things up today.
Yeah, I'm sure they did it just for me.
Well, I'm just pleased because I saw a couple matches today that didn't even have wind Tems in them.
I know, right? It's almost as if you're going to put a scunch on your team, you need to take something out to fill that slot.
I mean, I think it's just very nice to see that people are taking advantage of the fact that there's no mentals really being played outside of Kinu, so there's space for things like scunch to exist. Yeah,
so not having to deal with Barnchy and the drop in usage of Mix makes Scunch much more usable. Though it's also got a few other things going for it. Access to P-Jab for the Mashuks that have gone up in usage, for example. It's also got the hardest hitting ninja in the game. And it's surprisingly bulky.
Yeah, it definitely takes a lot more hits than people expect.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people see how much damage it takes from things like Emanip and think, oh, that's fine, I'll body this easy. And then it just sits there. Like I saw earlier in the sort of Swiss rounds today, there was somebody who was just constantly throwing Teslas at this gunch, and it was just eating them like 10% each time. Like, that's fine for the minus speed, but you gotta take the sucker down. We're still waiting on our other semi-finalist here. But I'm personally really excited to see who that is. Just so everybody knows, we have Tsubaki-chan versus Gold on one side, as with one of them being the potential semifinalists on there, and Prody versus Turby. It's 1-1 for everyone there. Both games into their game threes, so it's staggering the possibilities right now. We will, however, be guaranteed Kanzaki versus Senior Platt in the other round of the semifinals, so that's going to be super exciting to cast as well. Senior Platt is known for bringing some very unorthodox teams into high-tier meta. Basically the pioneer of, like, screw you, I get to Urushi all anyways.
Yes, he is the very first person to do that. I believe it was either he or Vossi that was the pioneer of max speed hypnosis and Idricel.
Oh, goodness. If I recall correctly, that was Vossi, but I know that he's been integral to learning more about like things like Spores Cleric, for instance.
Yeah. It's looking like Tsubaki's going to be winning over Gold here. It's a 3-1 Tem lead. One of those 3 is a Volar End on Tsubaki's side, and the one on Gold's side is a Settling Cerneve.
Oh, goodness. I mean, people continue to say that Settling Cerneve is stronger in terms of that. Soliloquy in chat saying Vossi was the one behind Nid. Thank you for that hot little bit of info right there.
I just saw a Frond Whip do like 35% to a Volar End.
That's pretty impressive. Here, okay, so which game are you in at the moment? Obviously, this is before the ones that we're officially spectating here. You're getting juicy details from behind the scenes right now.
Yes, I'm currently watching Gold versus Tsubaki because it's one of the matches we're still left to find out. So, okay, I will move games.
Exactly, sure. Yep, it turns out that the semifinals are in fact happening right now, as Kanzaki is here against Senior Platt. As we can already see, Senior Platt has some pretty wild things on the table here. He's been repping his Loali the entire tournament, and it's put in some heavy work with Hypoxias. Kanzaki is, of course, here with some pretty strong things as well. The two Vine and Rise, for instance, are actually quite interesting to see. Not as often sort of shown currently. Mashuk, however, is omnipresent.
Yes, Mashuk is everywhere right now. And I'd like to draw attention to the Mashuk and the Luali. You can clearly see that Senor Platt's team is a poison comp. You've got the Yukama, the Mushuk, the Platymus, and the Nidrasil, and the Volorend. They're all wanting to do poison things. Now, Luali has Toxic Farewell, but it's also the only Tem that can use both Urushiol and Turbo, with the exception of Mashuk. But being different typing, it covers some different strengths. So, for example, you can switch it into any wind moves like a HKS, while still not losing your ability to use Urushiol the following turn.
Okay, so Senor Platt's gone pretty spicy just early on here, going for Nidrasil Mastion into the classic Kinu Gallus here. Now, from what I understand, Senor Platt loves playing around this lead and has a lot of separate ways to dismantle it, so it'll be interesting seeing how Kanzaki plays around what Senor Platt's going for here.
Yeah, Mastion is the hardest hitting unboosted fire, so it's the biggest threat to Gallus or Kinu. You could go for the Kinu slot because a Tink plus an Embers will KO a Kinu no matter what, pretty much. Whereas the Gallus being at +1, it's going to survive both of those, and resistance is going to mean no burn and only 1 poison tick. However, you still want to pressure the Gallus, so I'm not entirely sure how it's going to be played.
Wind ban out of Matt Gia here, Senor Platt. Not very unexpected here.
Yeah, that's pretty standard if you're playing a lot of toxic-based Tems.
And unfortunately, we do see the magical power pig of Senor Platt, the bomb pig itself, getting banned on that side too.
Yeah, he has an interesting pig spread. It's very different to what people generally play their pig as. And we watched Senor Platt climbing up through to this stage in the tournament earlier, and that pig does things.
It claps. In the meantime, though. So, right, we're looking at still a pretty heavy win presence out of Kanzaki, which is a hard thing to take out as a toxic team, but I think, yes, the Yukama makes more sense here.
Yeah, the Yukama did make more sense there.
So here we are, our first game of the best of 3 of the semifinals, Senor Platt versus Kanzaki. And right, just looking at things right off the bat here, I think it really depends on what we're expecting to get doubled by Senor Platt.
Yeah, so Gallus is definitely going to survive here no matter what. Even though Revitalize is down, because it can be used till next turn, it will live, because Gallus at +1 is just that tanky. Whereas Kinu definitely goes down. However, there's nothing that really switches in to an Ember's Tink. The best thing to switch into that slot is Mashuk, but even then it's likely to be taking in the region of 30 to 40%, depending on how attack invested the Mastion is.
Oh, we actually see no swaps from Kanzaki. Actually very unorthodox for this lead. As he's just like, you know what, screw it. You can just hit me. I'm not too fussed about this. We see a Tink into Gallus doing barely anything, thanks to both resistant and the actual resistances. And Kinu getting well over 50%, somewhere closer to 60, 65 after the burn proc.
Yeah, so I think what Platt did there is he wanted to play around any potential switches. So he knew that Embers was going to be doubled on no matter what he chose to hit. And he went for a Tink on the Gallus slot because if anything was going to switch out there, it's the Gallus in order to preserve its health so that it can sweep later on. So the Tink wanted to punish whatever comes in for a Tink 25% chunk from the 2 poison ticks. So that's why he split his damage. However, by staying in, Kanzaki kind of beat that, in a sense, because now the Gallus has barely taken any damage, but it's at +2.
Yeah, it's a spanner in the works.
Yeah, another line of thinking that may have been going through Platt's mind is that if he doubles into something, and then that slot switches, his entire play is invalidated.
Well, we see the Kinu bounce at last. Second turn, it bounces for the Mashuk. And in the meantime, we're seeing the Spores Cleric happen to quickly wake the Mastion up so that way he can drop that sweet, sweet Meteors. Look at that speed tiering in effect, folks. That Gallus is going to be taking damage this turn, down to 37%.
That was a very strong play. The best way to play around Hypnosis at the moment, many people consider, is to either be immune to it with E-Drink, but you only get one E-Drink. So you generally predict the Hypnosis and attack the time you think is getting put to sleep. Haito works the same way because it's single target. So in order to prevent Mastion from losing its turn, he chose to attack his own Mastion. Spores is resisted, and then it applies regenerating, and that's the power of Nidrasil.
No, certainly. Spores Cleric Nidrasil is why most often you see it run E-Drink, so that way it can get away with that, because it basically means you've got a way to heal your other Tems while waking them up, as you say.
Yeah.
Especially when you're working with things like Fire Tems and other things that resist the grass and the nature, and the very, very low special attack output that Nidrasil actually has. It really has very few downsides.
Yeah, it's a very, very strong way to play Nidrasil. Arguably the best way.
Now, Platimus is coming out here, which doesn't really care about much of what's happening, but has a lower defense stat. I mean, its Rock Shield really helped it survive that Sea Bite. But okay, the Bark Shield alongside that's going to make it a lot more survivable, but that's a lot of damage on the switch in there. I mean, something's got to eat those hits, but
yeah, so crucially the damage came in before the Bark Shield there, which is definitely the best case for Kanzaki, because you want to make sure your attacks come in before Platimus gets any buffs. Crucially, it was revealed that this Platimus is determined, which means if Plat goes through, any rises are going to be basically useless against it. Whereas
that is a very good point.
In addition to that, it means it's relatively safe to put it to sleep with something like a Haito or a Hypno if Grandpa gets through next game, because we know it's not going to be proccing Zen.
Getting the scout on that is very important, especially since this is only one of potentially 3 games here. Having that information means that that Kanzaki can now sleep that Plat, as you say, with very little downside. Upside for Plat here, I suppose, is that the only thing Platimus here really does well into is 2-Vine. I mean, the Rouge Shell is nice for a lot of things here, but the Aquatic Whirlwind, I mean, I suppose it's also very good for dealing with Gallus, but Gallus tends to be very bulky and often runs Umbrella.
Yeah, so there's 2 ways to play this. Gallus is overexerted, so it either switches out and you Rouge Shield that slot, because the only Rouge Shield immune Tem on Kanzaki's side is Mashuk, which is already on the field, and therefore can't switch into that spot, or you go for an Aquatic Whirlwind and just try and take it out.
Once again, the same Cleric maneuver happening again here, just to keep his Platimus back up afloat, which is a lot more viable now that he's got all those defense buffs we were just seeing.
Yep. Platimus actually has naturally quite high special defense. It's somewhere in the 80s. So bulky Platimus is actually very specially defensive. So Bark Shield really shores up that weak base 37's physical defense.
I find it very hard to look past that a lot of the time, but if you can play around it like Plat has here, it's very hard to consider it to be that big of a downside.
Yeah,
like,
so now that it's got Determined revealed, there you go. It survived that because of the 1 tick of regenerating, because regenerating is 10%.
Yep.
Then Gallus goes down, guaranteed.
Meaning it's done most of its job here. It's fine losing out now because the Gallus is dead. Only other thing, as we said, it really is useful for here is the 2-Vine.
Yeah.
A couple people in chat talking about Kanzaki's perfect Lumas. Apparently these are perfect. We were wondering about that earlier up here.
Yeah, we were wondering that. We saw a lot of Lumas in this tournament on the way up. And we had to assume, surely some of these aren't perfect.
I mean,
surely.
Some of the Tems in Swiss, I have confidence were not perfect, but I mean, Kanzaki's a strong player. It's not unlikely that he's gotten a number of good hacked Luma's. Just to be clear,
this is where I'd really want to bring up the battle log to see who has what in the back, but I can't. Creamer, please.
Yeah, nope, that'd be nice. But in the meantime, we see the 2 vines swap in.
Okay, this is really important. So the 2 vines come in, but the Loalis come in on Senor Platt's side, which means that the Urushiol cannot be used to burn down the 2 vine. Neither does the water cannon get synergy, so you're only doing raw damage to this 2 vine, which is kind of a problem. Both Tems on Platt's side are physically not that defensive, so a CPG is going to hit no matter what for a lot of damage, and if he goes for a Nox Bomb instead, that's slightly more damage than a CPG in theory. And they're both weak to it.
Vine's running Nox? I suppose that's another question here.
You kind of have to assume they are, because its move pool is so small.
Run Tornado, though. Either way, we see the Loali swap into Mastion again, and Mashuk bounce over into Whiplumps. Do you think that was a solid predict then by Kenzak? Seems to be a giant ruse. Let's just see the Kinu swap here.
This looks like my Whiplump wins the game, so I'm going to buff it kind of play.
Looking in the back here, we still have a Nidrasil with defense buffs, but it doesn't really want to be taken to tornadoes. Whiplump does certainly look strong in this position. I can agree with you there. Although Loali, one of the reasons why I love Loali is the fact that Loali does not care about anything Whiplump dishes out, resisting both nature and water, both wind and water very effectively. Yes,
so with the exception of the Loali, the Whiplump has a neutral or positive matchup against everything. It beats Yukama handily, it beats Mastion handily. Nidrasil, it does heavily threaten, but with the buffs you can eventually beat it overall because Tink's just not doing enough direct damage. Yeah, this looks like I'm going to set up my Whiplump to win the game kind of strategy coming out of Kanzaki.
We're also seeing a Turbo out for Loali here, matching this and eating that tornado very nicely.
20% is not bad for a resisted hit. That did some sizable damage.
Like, Whiplump's no slouch in the special attack department, even without a Had Fan. That's some spicy meatballs.
Yes, it's actually only 15 below Oshiara, and Oshiara has the highest special attack. So, for some comparisons, Oshiara is base 110 special attack, Whiplump is base 95, and Yukama, which is considered like the pure water damage dealer, that's only base 76.
Do you think that this Loali is botanist and is about to throw some allergic spreads down, or do we think it's going toxic farewell?
Allergic spread would definitely be the most effective thing for it to use here. I like Allergic Spread Botanist Loali personally. It's quite nice for dealing with the Whiplumps that are going around. But it's very unlikely. The vast majority of people in the competitive community seem to be of the agreement that Botanist is not very good on Loali. You always want to go Toxic Farewell, and you basically never take Allergic Spread, and you play a very supportive Loali instead.
I suppose my only concern with that is that Toxic Farewell is a very situational death ability. Like, so many things are immune to poison anyways, especially, like, most of the things that are taking the Loali down are things like Volorend, that just aren't going to care about that proc.
Yeah, basically. There's not much more to add to that statement. It's pretty true.
So in the meantime here, I'm actually assuming, it makes sense here for the Kinu to bounce, because even at that low health, it's still useful. It's still dropping protector buffs down, and this 2-Vine, if it comes back in, doesn't really feel threatened here by anything that's likely to hit onto that slot.
Yeah, so one thing I really like doing with my Kinus is I'll preserve it even if it's on 5% HP, because I can bring it in after a KO, and it's just more protector value. So, even at 20.5% HP, this Kinu is still useful, and if you are positioning yourself to win this game with Whiplump, which is what it appears Kanzaki is doing, switching out the Kinu definitely
The
works.
Mashuk swap is, however, not expected into something that's got Hypoxia in its move pool, but it does eat that allergic spread very nicely. However, it does not eat that Blizzard as coolly, going down to 41%.
Oh, I've got a desync in that case, so I need to return shortly.
You're going to want to deal with that, because this is a spicy matchup. So that Yukama definitely has Blizzard, which I at least haven't scouted before.
I shall leave play-by-play to you for a moment.
That's perfectly fine then. At the moment here, like, the Whiplump unfortunately didn't take as much from that allergic spread as we all hoped, but that's mainly because it's currently got a special defense buff, courtesy Akinu, only taking around 25% from that allergic spread, which it's still good, but it's not, like, top tier. So this is also worth noting that Kanzaki's running Blizzard, which is not something you often see on Whiplumps these days. We see the Luwali bounce exchange for a Nidrasil, which is a very defensive play in my opinion. Could probably have gone for a Hypoxia there, but we do see the Mashuk also swap, so we're seeing reads predicting reads here. The Tornado destroys the Yukama after the Blizzard, which is usually what that combination is used for.
Yes. Once this turn is over, I'd like to talk a little bit about the Whiplump build. So yeah, as predicted, we're getting more value out of the Kinu buffs onto the Whiplump. This definitely looks like a Whiplump wins the game kind of scenario.
Yeah, there's very few things at this moment that feel like they can very much contest it. However, Tornado is currently down.
Yes, Tornado was just used on the Yukama. I'm watching the stream to try and keep up with the turns as I log back into the game.
Nice.
100%
professional here, folks.
Yeah, blame the people who make the game, not me. Looking at this Whiplump build, if it's running Blizzard, then it implies that it's not running Cold Breeze. I was the first person to run a Whiplump set like this way back in the day, and I mean like way back in the day. The purpose of it generally is that you use the Whiplump as a switch-in, because Whiplump's got really, really good defensive typing. Especially with the prevalence of wind, you switch the Whiplump into a predicted wind or water type or fire type attack. Take basically nothing from it because Whiplump's natural bulk is excellent. Then you've got 4 moves that synergize with Patient, and you basically have a free sweatband all the time.
Okay, so this is a powerful turn. We see a successful Urushiol onto the Whiplump. The Blizzard does go off onto the Nidrasil, but it only does around 70%, and it gets an allergic spread off, which does poison the Kinu. I feel like if he went for Toxic Ink there, he probably could have done even more to the Whip, but having the poison already on there means it's less valuable to tank that slot. Whereas in the meantime, this Kinu's dead next turn. That means that he can't afford to go revitalizing things if he wants to keep those protector buffs up.
Yeah, so I'm back in now. I think the allergic spread was the better play coming from the Nidrasil, because although you say you get more done with the tank in terms of taking out the Whiplump, it is in range to die to 4 poison takes. So it's now on 33.4 at 12.5% per tick. We're looking at 37.5%, which is more than the 33.4% it's on, so it's definitely guaranteed to go down. So now it's just a case of switching out the Nidrasil and outlasting the Whiplump.
Problem here is Senior Platt's stuck between bad Tems to stay in against Whiplump and bad Tems to stay in against Whiplump. He's only got a Nidrasil and a Mastion in the back. Neither of them want to be in on a Whiplump.
Nice read though.
Yeah, no, keeping the Nidrasil in and bark shielding onto the Luwali is huge here.
That was a manly play.
Quick shout out to Yaluna, who has just subscribed to Temporium with Twitch Prime. Thank you very much.
So that was clearly a read on Platt's side. He knew that Kanzaki was expecting the switch into the Mastion, which is why the Sharp Brain came out, and he stayed in, which has seriously stalled down Kanzaki's momentum.
Yeah, no, this means that Kanzaki no longer is in quite as good a position. I mean, I still argue Kanzaki is in a very strong spot here. The 2-Vine does a lot versus Loali, even with the Bark Shield, just due to base stats. If a Nox Bomb, I don't think does as much here as a CPG, but it's still a very strong thing to have. Having only Mastion in the back at around 49% is also not a good thing. But
yeah, so I'm going to make the argument here that 2-Vine wins the game. The reason 2-Vine wins the game is because Loali has nothing that it can hit the 2-Vine with that it doesn't resist outside of a relatively weak allergic spread. And with Nidrasil likely going down this turn, especially with Whiplamp at +2 speed, Loali has absolutely no access to the Urushiol it's obviously built around in this comp, which means you're not burning down that 2-Vine.
not wrong, and usually Loalis tend to run very buff-heavy sets and Hypoxia, and then also Allergic Spread here. Allergic Spread is, I think, his best damaging move against 2-Vine, and that doesn't feel good here, but he does have that Mastion.
Yeah, there, it did. 22%, basically.
That's not feeling like enough, and that it finally did catch that botanist there, so he is running the good boy Loali.
So, if this Loali can survive for 10 turns, then it can take out 2-Vine.
Well, yeah, but remember, we also have your boy Mastion right here, who definitely doesn't mind punching a 2-Vine. And with only these Tems left on the board, Mastion's in a much better spot. It needs to be focused on this turn, I think.
Yeah, I'm not so sure.
Let's see how much this hypo does.
Yeah, so the hypo is the key here. A perfect jab into a feather gets enough to deal with Mastion, or it might survive just barely, but it's the slowest thing on the field.
It's down. It's down. No, you're right. Looks like 2-Vine seals this deal, as it's looking like we're seeing close to the end of this first match. I don't see how Loali alone is going to be able to take on a barely living Mashuk, and more importantly, this powerful 2-Vine.
Yeah, it's basically completely walled.
Well, we're going to see a bit of Scorched Earth here as he just decides to... was that even an OX? No, he doesn't even OX. He just has enough stamina to take care of that Mashuk. Doesn't mind.
Yeah, that was
He's just chilling.
He just perfectly set that up. Probably his own TV spread making there.
Nope, stamina calcs is a good thing, and I'm glad to see people do it.
Another thing to consider is that this Loali could also be carrying Bark Shield. Loali has a ridiculously good move pool, right? It's got Hypoxia, it's got Turbo, it's got Bark Shield, it's got Tenderness, which I personally value quite highly. Allergic Spread is okay if you want spread damage. It's not too bad.
I mean,
but of course it's not enough here.
You want to go into the move route, like, if you want single damage, Spores exists, he says.
I have.
Like, it means something.
I will admit to trying it.
But outside of that, we do see Kanzaki walk away with the first W here today, as there is quite decidedly just no way that Loali is going to take down the CPGs that are...
Yeah, so despite the fact that it really looked like Loali did very little there, I do like it on Senior Plat's team. Loali has a few really interesting things about it. It has extremely high stamina, which means it's able to use some very expensive moves like Bark Shield, Turbo, and Hypoxia without the need for a Sweatband. It's very high. I think it's base 80 stamina, which is sort of in the region of... That's where Teteru's at in terms of stamina.
So I hate to interrupt you here, but I do have some other interesting news for what our next matches are going to be.
Ooh.
Checking the bracket, it turns out Tsubaki-chan and Turby have pulled through into the semifinals.
Okay.
Sorry, you go ahead after that. I just wanted to quickly make sure that I had that out there before I forgot about it.
Yeah, alright. The most unique thing about Loali is that it has the access to both Turbo and Bark Shield, and it's the only time in the game currently that can do this. So on a team that uses Turbo and Bark Shield, Loali is really strong because you're able to get a decent degree of role compression within the team just by using that one Tem. So for example, if you're looking for other Bark Shielders, well, you've got Daku, but it can't use Turbo, or you've got Nidrasil, both of which are relatively slow. Loali being relatively fast because of the turbo boost it gets, allows you to bark shield before incoming physical damage, and that's a big deal, especially in a meta game in which Heat Up Gallus exists, or Physical Valorant exists.
No, for sure. Having that speed there is one thing that really sets Loali apart. It also has a staggering base stat total in comparison to other Temps. I believe, I'm not sure whether this changed with the Tataru buff or not, but I'm pretty sure it is either top 2 or top in terms of base stat total.
It used to be top, guaranteed. I think the Tataru buff put it over the edge, just maybe. But the thing is, Tataru also lost stamina. I think it gained 10 attack and lost 5 stamina, so it's only a 5 base stat difference at most. I'm not entirely sure where it puts it, but either way, Loali's base stat total is huge.
No, for sure. Just once again, for people who are asking in chat, Kanzaki walked away with that last game. It was a clutch closer with Tuvine as the main sort of win condition at the end there, with Loali not really being able to do anything.
Yeah, the Loali felt weak despite all of the good things I just said about it. I think the issue was that the Toxics were banned on Plat's side, so he wasn't able to get the Erugiel synergy he wanted. He only really had Mashuk and Nidrasil.
All right, and here we are coming in with round 2 on Senior Plat and Kanzaki. Just starting up right now, folks.
Okay, so I'm spectating Senior Plat's side for reference.
So am I.
So I like the Nidrasil lead from Plat. The reason why Nidrasil's a relatively good lead is one, because of Erugiel stuff, which is fairly obvious, but also because the main sources of wind damage use HKS as their main wind I'm gonna kill you move. With the exception of something like Grandpa, which likes to use Wind Burst. And Kanzaki's not running any of those. The best option it really has for wind damage is Tuvine. But Tuvine leads aren't that strong.
Whiplump is also never seen as a first pick, and it doesn't seem like we'll see that out of Kanzaki either if they're running Blizzard over Cold Breeze, because that means that Whiplump has absolutely no things to do turn 1 and needs to swap in.
Yeah, so if you see something like the no hold moves Whiplump that Kanzaki is running, what you can do is you can first ban something you don't want to lead against, and then if the Whiplump is a problem for your team, you can always safely second ban it, because there's no way they're going to lead a Tem that is forced to rest on turn 1.
One thing to note here, by the way, is that immediately Senior Plat's Mastion was banned. That thing did not get to see the light of day this particular run-through. Kanzaki seeing how much it does against him from the last match. We are also seeing a Vola ban once again, and once again, same wins on Senior Plat's side. Pretty standard here, and that was a lightning pick for Pig into that. Wants his bomb, Pig.
Yeah, this is the immediate turbo comp. We've got 3 turbos all picked in a row, 4 turbos all picked in a row. So Plat's just going for a need for speed.
Gotta go fast. Once again, we're seeing the classic Kinu Gallus right here. I suppose the next question here is, does Kanzaki do the same fake out that they tried last time and just keep both suckers in? If I recall correctly, it's an Umbrella Gallus, so it's not too fussed by the water cannon damage itself. Nope, we do see the bounce.
Yeah, I think you would water cannon the Kinu slot because you get 1 extra turn of poison on the Gallus if you spores the Gallus slot.
Okay. Except that in this instance, that does even less because, I mean, while the water cannon's reasonable in terms of actual raw damage against Bashuk, like resisted doing 15%, that's still not bad. But the spores, I don't know.
The extra turn of poison makes all of the difference because most of the time you've got to assume a Gallus holds Umbrella these days. It's entirely possible that over the course of that battle, Plat completely forgot that the Gallus was holding Sweatband. And so he still played around the Umbrella, because that's exactly what I did in my head there. I completely forgot it was Sweatband Gallus, because most of the
Mhm.
game was focused on the Whiplump.
No, that's fair. Sweatband Gallus is a terror in the night, and a lot more people are running it these days. It's a very feast or famine sort of play, but Gallus comes through a lot of times because people just tack against it, so it's a fairly valid option. Just to answer Hyperion in chat, the other pairing is Tsubaki-chan and Turby, so we got some interesting matches going on that side too. But in the meantime, here, we see the Kinu swap back in again on the Gallus, getting yet another buff on. I say yet another, it's only been the 2 so far.
This Gallus is going to be nigh unkillable, I think. Resistance going to make the poison plays much less effective than you would like them to be. That was a big Toxic Ink, however. This is a very squishy Kinu.
No, being able to do that much damage immediately there, 66% is very strong, and that's still got a poison tick left on it. That does not want to stay in. That said, Mashuk doesn't mind bouncing right back into that slot, and it's going to eat that tank like it's nothing. So that's something to play around there. Another thing to consider here is that we do still have the Big Epic there, which is going to take another 40% off if predictions correctly happen.
So, a prediction I'm going to make is, if you would expect the Mashuk to come into the Kinu slot, you can actually Narcoleptic hit where the Kinu is, because it does enough damage that it puts Kinu in range to die to the 1 tick of poison. It will definitely put it down to 12.5%.
I mean, that's an interesting thought there. Okay, we see the Bark Shield come out, preparing against the 2-Vine, it seems. And also, I suppose, against this Gallus that's literally in front of it. You know, I guess that's important too.
Yeah, that was a lot of damage onto this newcomer. Like, a lot of damage. However, because Sharp Stabs was used, it's able to use Aquatic Whirlwind. And now that we know it's a Sweatband Gallus, Aquatic Whirlwind is going to be a threatening thing to do. An Allergic Spread is a very viable choice coming from Nitrocell here, especially because we know it's got the Bark Shield up.
In the threat of this and goes straight to Mashuk. That's going to eat the Aquatic and the A-Spread that we are predicting here very well. And the Beta Burst renders this moot, as a matter of fact, with the Yukama just going down. Imagine...
Yeah, that's a very fast Kinu. A very, very fast Kinu. Nitrocell overexerting there, which means we have a forced switch. No, I think maybe a forced rest this turn because there's a Mushuk on the field, which means can you really switch out against a Cage Tem? Probably not.
Probably not, but this is the time where Pig just appears, you know?
Yeah, this is the scariest Pig I've ever seen.
I mean, this Pig is a terror in the night. As you can see, this Mashuk's like, nah, fam, I'm out.
Yeah, Kanzaki knows exactly what's up with this Pig.
Oh, yeah, no, this Pig means business, and it is not here just to spamboozle. Although that's precisely what it does right now, because the other fun thing about Pigs is mind games. Getting that onto the Nid as the Whip lumps out is actually huge as well, because this means that that tank has no recourse. Sure, Whip is terrifying into Nitrocell, but it also really doesn't like getting hit by those poison moves.
Yeah, so this forces Whiplump to use Blizzard instead of Tornado, which is actually bad for the Nitrocell, because if it uses Blizzard here, then Tornado will confirm the kill the following turn. So actually the Bamboozle doesn't do anything. Because if you go for the Tornado, you're just going to break the Bamboozle with your Tornado and then hit Nitrocell with the weaker move. If you go for the Blizzard, you lower your own speed back to how it was before the Turbo, which means you can bring in something faster than the Whiplump, like say a Gallus, break the Bamboozle with the Gallus, and then the Blizzard takes out the Nitrocell. It's a general little thing I've learned, which is if you're going to be taking something out every 2 turns, and one of those moves you're planning to use to take it out is a positive priority move, save that to secure the kill.
That makes a lot of sense, and it fits in with the classic sort of 1-2 Blizzard Tornado combo. But that Mashuk's back on the field. Like, I really hope that this is a ruse into 2-Vine.
It could be, but that means Whiplump takes the Toxic Ink for free. It is, however, +1. If it's Takuma Mask, potentially, then that might be safe-ish.
Whiplump is not +1. It's only got speed buffs.
I thought it got Kinu buffs.
Nope, it did not get a Kinu buff. It swapped
Okay,
in.
it's not safe. Yeah, it's absolutely not safe. Which means that the smartest thing to probably do is either stay in because it will survive one hit, break the Bamboozle with the Mushuk, go for the Blizzard so that you can secure it with Tornado the following turn and only take that one hit, or switch into Two-Vine.
Yeah, you spoke correctly here. It's jumped straight into the Two-Vine, and that turbo is coming down on that, which helps the Two-Vine stay relevant here. But we're going to see the claps here. That is a Wind Burst with a Hand Fan Pig Epic doing over 50% to a Mashuk. This is a force of nature.
Okay, this is a terrifying pig. We've never seen its fourth move though. I assume its fourth move is Turbo. We've seen Bamboozle. In a previous game we've seen Tornado. We've just seen the Wind Burst. We haven't seen the fourth move yet.
Yeah, no, it could be... I don't see it being Hypno at this rate. Because...
No, it could... I don't think it's Hypno. However, it could be Turbo. It could be Oshi Dashi for two vines. Or it could be Sharp Rain.
Sharp Rain on a full special attack Pig Epic.
Yeah, so
brilliant.
Sharp Rain makes sense because it's full special attack.
This Mashuk doesn't even care. He's like, okay, right, come at me. And Kanzaki's going straight into this, just dropping damage onto this pig with CPG and PJab.
So Nitrocell, I think allergic spreads here, right? It goes, because pig's basically going down, if you allergic spread, that plus Fainted Curse will take Two-Vine out. You could also preserve stamina and just Spores that slot because Mushuk's immune to it anyway.
The nice question here is, does anything try to swap in on this? I don't think so because, I mean, I smell a tornado happening here.
Gala's coming quite comfortably.
Sure, I mean, okay. Yeah, the Two-Vine could bounce here, and that probably makes sense. But I'm not sold on that notion. Okay, yep. We don't see that go down. Instead, we see the Mashuk give its life almost. That 0.5%. It's like one health. One health.
That is unfortunate. It's fine. Just blame it on damage rolls.
Oh yeah, those things that definitely exist, right?
Yeah, those things that you always have to question, why are they in the predecessor to this game? Why is this a thing?
Nah, that was really well done there, making sure that the pig doesn't drop even more pressure out there. Because if any Tem on that side wanted to eat that, it was going to be Mashuk, who doesn't do as much to the rest of Platt's team. Like, that's the Tem that's fine with going down here.
Yeah, the Mashuk's basically done its job. Absorbing that Fainted Curse was the last thing it needed to do before it goes down, and it successfully did it.
Because in the meantime, it is bouncing, and we see even more P-Jabs here. Does he actually kill himself to the P-Jab? He does. Okay,
yeah, that's fine.
Right. You've done your job, soldier.
That Feathergat's going to sting. Just barely living, but no Arushiel.
Mashuk gets the turbo off, though.
So the Wally could go for an Arushiel here, but actually there's no point because the Two-Vine's still poisoned for one turn. You need an uppercut. But I believe the Two-Vine's also +2, so it's down to TV spreads at that point. Also Whiplump's just, yeah. Whiplump Tornado can secure this quite comfortably.
Right. Does it, though? I mean, I hate to be that person who's like, but Loali. We're not in the same position as we are last game. We do still have the terrifying monster of a Gallus available, but we have a couple more physical defense options for that. We have Bark Shield potentially on this Loali. I don't think we know if it runs it yet. The Mashuk's dead, for sure, but
yeah,
I don't know if this is over for Platt yet.
It could be. I wanted to see what was in the bag, but the turn ended by that point. There's a CPG for Loali. That's going to do about 40%.
Yeah, no, that's over 40.
That was 45. I was
It's
close.
almost- Yeah, no, that's almost half right there. That is not a good time.
So there is a possibility of a Rushiol here. You could actually go for, because the Loali's +2, and the Whiplump's used its Tornado, you could go for a Rushiol onto the Gyalis and a Tink onto the Whiplump. Also notice that Tornado was used last turn. Because Tornado was used last turn, it's down this turn. Because it's down this turn, Nidrasil actually gets to take a turn. If Blizzard was used to KO the Mashuk last turn, which would have meant Whiplump took a small amount of damage, but not much because Arushiol was down due to the Loali being in the next slot. That means that Tornado cannot be used to secure a KO on the Nidrasil plus Gyalis damage this turn. So Nidrasil definitely survives here because the Tornado was used last turn, which personally I would say is a mistake on kind of like his
The
part.
question in that case is, do we think that Tink is going to take down that whip in time? So we see an Arushiol go down on the Gallus, which is important, but I don't think it's going to save Senior Plat in time here. Because the biggest problem I've had with Arushiol in my experiences is, yes, it eventually will take out your enemy team, but that's great early game. It's only so good late when it's got damage like this coming at it. Like, unfortunately, I think this is GG. Kenzaki takes it away again. Very powerful showing there. A concession from Senior Plat there as Kenzaki wins game 2 here. Going into our grand final.
Yeah, that was a strong showing, and I'm happy to see that particular Whiplump build doing well again.
No, that was really cool to see. I love the amount of wind pressure that Whip can put out there, and it's nice seeing Blizzard get rep.
Yeah,
also,
I'm definitely not biased.
I hate freeze. Like,
It's
I know
not
it
like
exists,
my
but
build or anything.
So in the meantime, just refreshing my own battle fight here, seeing what scores we got, because we know what the ones that we've seen, but in the meantime, there's been other things. We only have so many pairs of eyes on the board at once here. So the first game of the other semifinals went to Turby.
Okay, we should probably spectate.
Fantastic.
Yep. I'm going to move over to Turby, yep.
Who also has the benefit of being the much easier person to type the name of.
Exactly, it's the same reason for me.
Oh, and immediately it's Scunch. We see Scunch and a happened here. This
Come on,
is
game, get me in here.
great.
Get me in here, game. Please. Load, do the thing. Yeah, Scunch! For those of you who don't know, I may or may not be biased towards Scunch. Only maybe. But, yeah, definitely I love Scunch.
No,
So it's going to take us a while to figure out what's going on in this game, because a few turns have passed and we don't know exactly what was used, so we don't know hold turns and stuff. We'll need to recount.
I'm gonna make moves here. I'm waiting for things to load in on my side because unfortunately I cannot access the battle log yet.
Yeah, same here. We need the next turn to go down.
Okay. Dragon with the memes in chat. Oshi Scunch, if only.
Yeah, if there was an Oshi Scunch in this game, I would be so happy, but no. No, it's not a thing.
But we do have the luxury of knowing certain elements of what Tsubaki-chan has brought so far. For instance, if I recall correctly, it's 2 melees and 2 neutrals here, bringing Scunch, Saipat, and Tataru on Tsubaki's side. Very different from what we regularly see them bring.
Yes, that's much more in line with my style of team. I really enjoy the double neutrals lead. I was the first to do it about 2 months ago, where you lead a Tat and a Scunch together. They both P-jab the same target on the first turn, and then the following turn you can go for either a Haito plus a Major Slash on that same target, or you can cage Major Slash if you've got
We
the
see
damage for it.
French joke right here as the Duck Noise Psypat comes in and eats an aquatic whirlwind that was meant to go onto that Two-Vine. Right, straight into the nards with this game. The Platymus goes down.
Yeah, I like that switch. That was a really strong switch.
That was a good boy play. Tsubaki already showing us why they're regularly top seed.
Yeah, that was very, very good. Gained momentum while losing minimal health.
Okay, so we see the nid drop in on that side. That's a pretty reasonable swap in there, given that we also have the Machoke on the field. We have a Valorend and Bernie the Whiplump in the back of Turby, and we got the Tat, Kinu, and Two-Vine available on Tsubaki's side. So a lot of interesting Tems this time around.
Yes, so Tsubaki's team, 4 or 5 Tems have the ability to lower the defense of Turby's team. Because yes, Stair Psypat is a thing, I have used it, it's somewhat effective. I really do like Tsubaki's team. The Platymus being down is arguably quite a big deal because that's one of the 2 Urushiol pressures that are now gone. So I would say Tsubaki's next ideal play is I want to take out that Machoke. Now, I'm expecting to see a potential Narco hit coming out of Nidrasil on the Skunch here to stop any ninjas coming down.
The Narco hit is a distinct threat, and I think that's actually what we're focusing on more here, as we see a double in to that Nidrasil, ignoring the Machoke. But we also see a Tink onto Quan Quan instead. Which, unfortunately, does that take it down? Yeah, no, it's 12.5 per poison tick, so that duck is dead. But we could still see a Narco, potentially. Although, with a -1 on Nid's defense thanks to that P-jab, Jutsu's looking like a spicy meatball here.
Yeah, so I can tell you for a fact that a Ninja Jutsu from this Skunch is going to knock it out, unless this Skunch is so fast or so bulky that it doesn't have any attack invest, which it should, because it's a Skunch.
I was going to say, Skunch needs it. It's also the way that you make Brawny hit even harder.
Yeah, that the whole purpose of Skunch is to do damage. So, I would expect a Ninja would definitely take out Nidrasil here. Machoke's not doing anything. Like, we saw all it's been doing is hitting uppercuts on 2 melee types, so it's not really achieving much because they're both poisoned as well.
You know, that's the point. Is Turby running Perfect Jab? I mean, I think I remember them using it in previous
I would expect Valorant to come in here, and a Turbo.
That makes sense.
Valorant then eats the Ninja. Is this a double Ninja?
I think it might be. That...
No.
Nope, we see a Haito Uchi come out instead, so the Jutsu is still up for the Skunch.
Yes, that is something that a lot of people I've noticed do, regardless of what turn they're playing, is they don't hold their priority. So as soon as their priority move comes up, they're going to click that priority move. Whereas because Tsubaki held the Ninja Jutsu here, it's a KO threat on 2 Tems now. Because if it had used Ninja Jutsu before, then it's no longer a KO threat because it doesn't have the priority to outspeed anything, and it's also Skunch's biggest nuke. By using the Haito here, you preserve the threat of Ninja, and it forces Turby to play around Ninja again.
No, that's a very valid point. It's also very unlikely that that Skunch is getting... Okay, while the Valorant can threaten it, like that Jutsu is going to take that Valorant out before anything else. The problem here is John Cena is not pressuring this Skunch.
It is now.
I was able to say that sentence.
It is definitely pressuring the Skunch now, because Urushiol exists, and the poison turns from the previous Urushiol have worn off.
You're not wrong. It could just go for that, but as I've said before, like, Urushiol doesn't kill the other Tem before the other Tem does damage.
No, it doesn't.
So that's still getting that Jutsu off. It's not going to stop it taking a couple Tems with it before it goes down. And with the Kinu on the board here, we may even see Mashuk bounce here on Turby's side.
Yeah, so once again, Turby playing around the possible ninja. Because that's now 2 temps that are threatened by a ninja. Yeah, there we go.
It's faded out this time. All right. That is a whopping... Oh, man. That is 57% off an attack. That is spicy. As the double up into Bernie here takes that whip lump in at 22%. The Scunch may be going down, but it really hit hard. It doesn't even go down, of course, because it's swapped out of the synergy.
Yeah. Yeah, so what this Scunch has done is by holding the Ninja Jutsu, it's now put 3 of Turby's Tems into KO range. Nidrasil and Volorend and Whiplump are all in range of being KO'd by other members of Tsubaki's team because the ninja was held. That's a perfect example of what I was trying to say there.
At this point, I mean, this Scunch can probably just chill.
Yeah, Scunch has done more than enough for its job. I think Turby isn't familiar with how Scunch plays, and so is not making particularly strong reads around the kind of damage or turns to expect.
No, that checks out. I mean, in fairness, I've only recently seen Scunch really be picked up. It was really fun just spectating earlier on as we were deciding for this top part right here, because we had Tsubaki and Gold facing off, both of them Scunch versus Scunch, which was a real sort of crucible of seeing how to play it effectively. We see the Tornado come out on the Kinu in the meantime here, which actually a pretty respectable amount of damage out of Bernie here. So that's a spicy hand fanboy, though does get snared.
Yeah, also gets put to sleep.
I mean, is that as valuable if we've already gotten the prio off, though?
No.
Like,
it does mean it doesn't get a following turn. So the possibility is there could be a double up onto the Whiplump slot, because now that everything's low health on Turby's side, you could just double that slot next to the Mushuk every single turn, and no matter what comes in, it goes down, and then you just save the Mushuk for last. That is one way you can win this battle. Also, I liked the switching out of the Scunch there, because Ninja was used last turn, it means Haito is up, and because Haito is up, you can put one of the slower attempts to sleep. Something like the potential Volorend, because min speed Volorend will be slower than Scunch. Min speed Whiplump will be slower than Scunch. Nidrasil is slower than Scunch, unless it's the max speed Hypnosis variant.
It's not. We already know that that is a much beefier one, and since he's running negative prio moves, that's very rarely seen on max speed builds.
Yeah, that's true. Although Bark Shield is prio 2.
No, it's prio 1.
No, it's prio 2.
You lie. Look it up right now.
I am going to look it up and prove you wrong or embarrass myself.
You're going to embarrass yourself, I'm telling you right now. In the meantime, that Volorend is embarrassed as well as it gets KO'd, but the Urushiol takes out takes out the Kinu. Almost, it takes out John Cena there. Like, yeah, okay.
Oh, I've embarrassed myself.
I told you. No, it's prio 1. That's why you don't run it on a max speed set. I run max speed Nid. I do know these things.
I don't play Bark Shield. I tried it once on my Raid Boss Saku team and decided that I didn't like it and ran Shy Shield instead.
Yes, Liquoy's got me in chat as well, catching us there.
So it looks like Tsubaki has followed the same line of reasoning that I was going for in just hit... Oh no, he hasn't. The Mushuk's taken damage, never mind. I was distracted because I was embarrassing myself by looking at Bark Shield.
In the meantime, we see the Scunch back out here. I'm not sure if this is a field Scunch really wants to be in, because that NATO's still a terror of the night, although we have a full HP, untouched Tataru in the back, ready to carve swaths into this field.
Yeah.
And having Tornado up is also a bad sign for John Cena right here.
Yeah, so the trick here is if you can get because you've already damaged the Mushuk, now if you get the Mushuk into KO range, then anything Tat does KOs anything, and you just play around Tateru.
Okay, so we see the Nid come back out there as the Haito drops, and that, with the minus def, is actually a pretty chonky hit. Like, I think this Scunch has done its job.
Oh yeah,
It's created so much.
it's done plenty.
Like,
That's Nidrasil down, so if Boloran can be taken out, then the Mashuk loses its Urushiol pressure. Boloran being saved for last though, which I like because it's the means of dealing with Tuvine. By which I mean the Urushiol is the means of chunking through Tuvine, as most Mushuks don't have that much damage, so their uppercuts kind of only do in the region of like 20%, so uppercut could even be a 3-hit KO on that Tuvine depending on how bulky it is.
it's just strictly possible, but it's important to remember that we do have the possibility of a sharp rain coming down here that would body that Tuvine.
Yes, it would. This could be a Tateru versus the world situation. However, the Mashuk appears to be low on stamina, which means it could be OXing itself, while Tat doesn't do that because it's full.
I think the Mashuk actually rests here because if it does it correctly here, it should be able to just take out. Yeah, this is what I was expecting right now. The sharp range just takes out the Tuvine, and the Mashuk doesn't even need to do anything. It can just sit there. It doesn't need to spend stamina this turn. Oh,
Does this
especially
Tateru not carry Nox Bomb?
I don't think it does. You know, I don't run Tataru on Nox Bomb, like Nox Bomb on Tataru either, and I don't think it's always a necessary thing. Like, there's a number of good utility moves that Tataru has, and some people I know even run Held Anger in that 4th slot. It's very flexible. That said, that momentum loss in terms of not being able to KO Bernie there really hurts for Tsubaki.
Yeah,
Like,
I think that may have sealed it.
this is a bit of a doozer right here. Turby's bringing it back. I mean, I've seen so many games that come down to a fact that Mashuk is just so hard to take out on the physical side if all you've got left is Fizz. And the gulf in the perfect jab damage there is pretty strong.
Yeah. I was expecting Tateru to have Noxious Bomb there, personally. Every single one I've seen has used Noxious Bomb, which is sad because I want to play Babawa.
Very consistent run on that slot, I'll say again. Ali got me backed up in chat there. Either way, congratulations on Turby for just taking that game out, just squeezing that there.
Yeah. Turby taking out our #1 seed from Swiss. So, chat was right, the curse continues.
Just gotta double check here. Actually, that's a point. That was game 2. He's actually taken them out entirely and has made it to the grand finals. Man,
Yeah.
I need to remember how numbers work. There is no game 3 in this one. The game 3 is versus Kanzaki and has a completely different meaning. Okay, so this means that our 3rd and 4th are decided. I'm not entirely sure how that works. Do we get a loser's bracket on this?
I don't think we do. I haven't seen one on Battlefy.
That's right, because they're both the same price. That means that at this point, it is the battle for the vast majority of the marbles here. One person is going away with 120 euros, and the other person's going away with 60.
I mean, it's free money.
Well, I mean, I think that depends on how you qualify free here, but it's definitely money well earned by these powerful players.
Yeah. These are both well-known players in the community. Everyone in top 4, or rather top 8, is a well-known player in the community. There isn't a single name I don't recognize there.
Dragon brings up an interesting point as well. The fact that Tsubaki was running Peck rather than Tornado, that's another thing that helped decide that game in Turby's favor. If Tsubaki wasn't running Peck, that could have KO'd the whip at that low health. I'm not entirely sure on that. I'm not the Cal fan.
I don't think it would have changed the outcome of the game because of the amount of damage that the Shiteru and the Mushuk were doing to each other. I think Mashuk would have survived the Major Slash after another P-Dab anyway. And it was faster than the Terror as well. Now, personally, I really don't like Tornado on Two-Vine. Everyone tells me it's just a better thing to do. But the thing is, if you're running the I use CPG 3 times build, you're on 62 stamina. Tornado costs 30. So that's pretty much exactly half of your total stamina to use one move, which is coming off of a weak special attack stat. And given that most Mashuks that you're using it on and taking that move for are running max HP, max special defense co in most cases, or something along those lines, you're only doing like 30% to 40% at most.
What I argue here, since I personally do run Tornado, is that is better than the 5% you're getting out with Peck if you need a prio move and know you're going down that turn, which is what we saw right there.
Yeah, I think it's a case of you take one and you acknowledge which situations you win or lose.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's an either or, definitely. It's just Tornado costs like almost 10 times as much stamina as Peck. And on such a stamina intensive Tem, because all of its moves are expensive, do you really want to add another really expensive move? CPG is 24, Humiliating Slap is 20, Feather Gat is 17, and you've only got 62 stamina to work with.
Just run Diamond Fort Forehead.
That one prio move that, we'll be honest, isn't very good.
All right. So we're coming into the grand finals here for the grand prize here. One person here will be walking away with 120 euros. The other person will be walking away with 60 euros. Everyone here has won something today, but who gets more? Turby versus Kanzaki, both very strong players. Both have brought in very powerful builds today. Once again, a quick shout out to the Luma Flex of this Mashuk as well.
Yes. So if I were to put money on it, I would say that either Turby or Kanzaki wins this.
How is that putting money on it?
Because it's for chat to enjoy the stupidity.
Okay, sure. I'll roll with you there. Sure. Personally, I want to see this Mudrid do things. I've not seen that do anything all through this tournament.
We tried to watch it earlier and it wasn't picked. It's almost as if that's the problem with Mudrid. It doesn't get picked.
I mean, I feel like there's multiple problems with Mudrid. I personally remember speccing my Pig Epic to specifically KO any Mudrid that didn't run physical defense against me, because you can do that with Oshidashi really easily.
Yeah, I'd really like to see Mudrid actually being picked.
No, it actually gets banned. Okay.
The curse of Mudrid never getting picked.
I mean, in this instance, I feel like it did its job here. It ate a ban, you know? Like, now Kanzaki can play Raze and Gallus a bit more safely. Doesn't have to worry about that Dust Vortex hitting the bad special defense on that Two-Vine. Like, there's reasonings we can summon here.
Yeah, there are. I agree with that. I'm just sad.
No, I too am sad. I want to see Mudrid work, but at the same time, we got other beautiful Tems here. Like, we don't see nearly enough Platimus. I like seeing Platimus. I like seeing Nidra there.
In response to Dead Foxtails in chat, Mudrid does not shut down Gallus because Gallus usually leads with Kinu, and a +1 Gallus can survive a Mud Vortex, a Mud Shower into a Dust Vortex, whereas without Kinu buffs, it won't. So as we see, it's already led with a Kinu here.
Now that's if you don't run Sparks.
And because Dust Vortex is a 2 prio move, the Gallus in most cases is going to outspeed it and one-shot it with a Hito on the second turn anyway. So no matter what, the Mudrid loses that matchup.
I mean, once again, that does depend on how you're supporting your Mudrid here. Like, if you're giving that thing special attack buffs, it can do its job very effectively.
Yes. And yes, Tiki, it is finals.
Yeah, once again, this is for all of the marbles, folks. well, the vast majority of the marbles.
Indeed,
only
you
problem
can
with the
buy a
split
lot of
price-
marbles with 120 euros.
This is true. You could also buy a succulent meal out at a restaurant that is now opening up again in certain countries. Since like lockdown is starting to break again.
Or you can just be like me and order pizza.
I mean, you could. I mean, you can do that in fourth place.
Or you could do the other thing, and you could pay Creamer to put Oshi Scunch in the game. Because I'm gonna keep going on about that until I get my Yoshi Scunch.
It's gonna come eventually, man. Let's wait until however we want to pronounce Kisiwa today, and then decide things there. In the meantime, though, we see a classic toxic team come out of Turby right now. We're seeing 2 win bands. We're seeing 3 toxics into Yukama out against Mashuk and Whip and the legendary fantastic duo here.
Are we sure this is Turby playing? It could be Senor Platt.
No, I don't see a Lawali.
This is looking like a I Poison You comp coming from Turby. Turby gonna pick the 5th I Poison You. That would be terrifying. Do it.
Look, you can't stop this, but I think it's a rock and a hard place. Tuvine does a lot to both of these Tems. But Platt strikes back. That's a point to make here.
Yeah, Platt actually deals damage
having,
to the Tuvine.
Yeah, the Arushiol and the Aquatic both are very strong here. Yep, nope, that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree with that pick. I don't like the Kunu there. It doesn't provide any offensive threat. And the thing is, when you're playing this kind of poison comp, yes, being able to poison everything is great, but you also need to deal some direct damage threat to put things in KO range with the poison, because you can't wait 8 turns to do 12.5 times 8 damage, essentially. You need to actually speed up the game enough so that they don't kill you before that happens.
Yeah, no, that's a thing. My favorite Yukama name I've ever seen, Nee Mohammed, coming out here, giving water cannons right off the bat. As we're also going to see this Feather Gatling hit, and that is what I like seeing against a Gallus opener.
Yeah, that was some good chunk.
Not as much pressure as you can give, especially since, as we know, Sweatband Gallus, it's a terror in the night.
Yeah, Sweatband Gallus is really interesting, because Gallus, in terms of the threat it puts out or how much tempo it gains the player, it's kind of like a spiky line graph, where it's very low on its first turn because all it can do is heat up. Then on the turns it has stamina, it's very, very high because it's a heat up Gallus. And then it runs out of stamina and it's very, very low again. And then it stays relatively low as it only gains enough stamina from a rest to get 1 attack off, or it has to switch. Sweatband solves that problem, and it's just consistently threatening the moment after it gets that heat up off, and it solves that issue. However, you also lose 2 big things if the Gallus gets banned. That's the trade-off you make. Because Sweatband is so powerful, you want it on everything.
I mean, that's the problem. It's feast or famine. Now, what do you think, as our sort of analyst here, in terms of doing other things to buff the stamina of your Gallus beyond that lovely 4 stamina breakpoint there? Oh, speaking of which, in terms of this game, we do see the turbo drop onto the Whiplum. So that's immediately a nice bit of presence right there. It's going to eat the AWW very effectively. Just
beautiful switch.
Oh,
okay,
of
so
course, the HKS as well. That is
so this is a
momentum.
Great showcase of this is my build. This is my Whiplum build. So because you're not running Cold Breeze or any 0 health moves, you have to bring it in as a pivot. So you want to switch it in onto something it resists and build it a bit more bulky than most Whiplums. And this is the perfect turn to bring it in. This Whiplum is now online. So once you get that 1 turn of hold, from that point on, Whiplum can attack forever. Because the 10% from Patient is basically 2/3 of a Sweatband recovery every single turn. So now this Whiplump is in a fabulous position, and even if it switches back out again, it's set up to sweep in any turn it comes back in.
And yeah, this is something that demands respect and needs to be watched out for, because the moment it comes in, it can just pressure like this. Now, that said, the water cannon's still gonna, damage its long-term survivability here, but the blizzard onto the Yukama, Muhammad, no like. It's stormy weather for that boy. However, does the Whiplump really want to stay in here?
It can afford to go for the tornado, I think. So here we see the issue with water cannon, which is even if you resist it, you get chunked by 25% with synergy. So Whiplump is threatened by water cannon just because water cannon exists next to a toxic type.
What are you talking about? That's perfectly balanced. I see no problem with a move vastly outdamaging its similarly stamina-costed competition.
And I also like the choice to go for Blizzard here. I talked about this earlier, which is where you save the priority move to go for the KO. Using the Blizzard on this turn means that you confirm the KO with Tornado, because Tornado is 145 base power to 1. There you go.
It's important to say that we were expecting this. I was expecting this KO here because Turby has nothing to switch in on that Tornado as well. Like, now that this Whiplump is up, like, that Whiplump needs to die.
Yes.
Like, everything that comes into that slot is going to be eating blizzards and nados, and that is not a good time. And the more turbos that Kinu can drop down, the more painful this game's going to be for Turby.
Yeah, so the great thing about this Whiplump build is now that you've used Tornado, Blizzard's up, and then when you use Blizzard, Tornado's up, and it's just consistent wind damage all the time. It's very, very powerful. I would have to make the case, however, to switch the Whiplump out here. You need to make sure it stays alive, and it's being threatened by both an Urushiol and a Nox Bomb here, or even a double Nox Bomb if Turby's Platymus runs it, which it will not survive, and you cannot use Hypnosis. Yeah, it's not great, personally. I also agree with you there. But you're definitely at least going to be seeing it from the Volar end. And with the Volar end being alerted right now, Kinu cannot put it to sleep, even if it wanted to X for it.
Now, oh yes, actually no, we do remember that Turby's Platymus here is also Zen.
Yes.
Unlike Senior Plats, so this means that it doesn't mind getting Hypnoed here. Although it doesn't we don't even see that as a consequentiality here, as we actually see a double swap out of Kanzaki into the 2-Vine. Now, do we think this is for the Urushiols onto things? Yes, it is, as the Mashuk eats that Urushiol with no problem, if only you targeted the Whiplump there. But he was expecting this, and therefore the 2-Vine's Nox Bomb. 2-Vine's not going to take anything from that Nox Bomb. Like,
so
that was, once again, we're seeing flawless predicts out of Kanzaki here. He's reading this game like a book.
Yeah, so although we know this about Turby's team because we spectated previous games, Kanzaki does not know this. And a P-Jab into Feather Gatling play onto the Platymus is a very viable option.
Yes, this is true. The fact that Kanzaki is not scouted, that's determined, has the possibility of influencing his plays here. I personally think that it's still possible that he could just go for that P-Jab just to scout it, which would determine that.
You can go for the P-Jab just to scout it because the damage is valuable in and of itself, and you've got a 50-50% chance to put it in KO range for the following turn. Or it could just do the same play, but go for either a CPG or preserve stamina with a Feathergat onto the... I almost called it Zephyruff because of the nickname, the Volar end.
Yeah, Zephy keeps throwing me too. We could just call it Zephy. That's what his nickname is.
Yeah, I am trying to be a big boy professional here.
Well, either way, I think this Valorant, like, even with the double minus def that it's staring down, doesn't feel too threatened here. The Urushiol can drop onto the 2-Vine, followed by additional pressure from other things. We can drop, we don't have speed buffs on Zephy, so it's less likely to HKS anything, but a Feathergat still isn't something a Mashuk wants to take.
No, it would still do in the region of 25.
That said, he does bounce and brings in...
Oh,
John
I've desynced.
Himself.
I appear to have desynced, so I'm gonna be back.
Oh man, I guess you're just gonna have to watch the stream with the rest of the wonderful people in chat. As, oh boy, Platimus just gets annihilated by that Feathergat. It is left at 10%, not appreciating what it had to do to get that Urushiol off. Like, it's a good thing he's got priority, but a tornado kills it. In the meantime, though, John Cena is looking like they're in a good position here. Like, the uppercut helps, but in the meantime, Kanzaki's Mashuk is kind of just not getting answered. And Turby's running out of resources here. Like, he's got Zephy in the back. He's got the Nidrisil. There's not much else there, though, is the thing. And Two Vine's a very good answer to both of those.
Yeah. There really isn't much that can be done about this Mashuk. That's one of the strong things about Mashuk. It's that these poison teams are, I wouldn't quite say popular, but they're definitely an existing force within the meta.
And, okay, the tornado instead comes out on John Cena himself. And that's a solid...
Yeah, 38.
Just under.
37.1%.
Yeah, no, there's no sense spending that extra stamina on bodying the Plat when it was already at 10%, but that it comes at the cost of the Two Vine there, which could have done more to threaten others, but it still works out. Yeah,
that was a reasonable play. I still am not sure I agree with Tornado, because that wasn't a huge chunk, although it's more than...
I argue that is a very good chunk against Tem that otherwise is only really going to be taking 20% from Feathergats.
Yeah.
As it stands here, Turby's like he's got 3 Tems at high HP, but I don't think he's in a very good position here. As it stands, Kanzaki has a couple threats that I don't think he has many ways to deal with. Like, John Cena here doesn't mind the Gallus, but that Whiplump's in the back just being like, come on. Throw hits that aren't toxic on this slot, please. Like, it's just waiting to switch in on that.
Yeah, so one thing that Kanzaki could have done with their team building is they could have set the Mashuk to be faster than the Gallus, and you could actually go for a PJ Crystal Bite into either slot, and it would probably pick up a kill. I should call it a KO.
I mean, that's fine. I've been saying kills this entire time, but I'm a filthy Nuzlocker, so I say these things. In the meantime, we are seeing a phenomenal amount of damage out on Zephy here. As another Urushiol goes down, that's some good, amount of damage on the Kinu there. It looks like it's a double up too, because that's a dead Kinu.
Yeah, I think the Urushiol was for insurance in case it wasn't doubled into. Or rather, in case it wasn't switched, or something else was played on that slot.
All of these elements make sense there.
And so we have Whiplump. So I think a Sharp Stabs coming out of Gallus here is the smartest thing that Kanzaki can do, because you remove the Urushiol synergy for John Cena the Mashuk, which then keeps Whiplump alive. However, the switch says otherwise. There's the Sharp Stabs. That means an Urushiol's definitely coming out this turn, unless it can KO the Mashuk, which just barely it doesn't. And that's a very sad Whiplump. That did a lot of damage.
That did a lot of damage. That said, that Whiplump still has Tornado in the pipe, if I recall correctly.
Yes, and Sedge Tornado will probably... Well, I think it would definitely KO anything but the Nidrisil. The Nidrisil I'm not sure on. It depends on spreads. Oh, no, yep, okay, anything in that slot.
Remember, the coat is on John Cena. So, unless that thing's got a ton of special defense, that thing's going down to that.
And here we see the power of Sweatband Gallus. It's not running out of stamina, but it's allowed it to Crystal Bite, Sharp Stabs, Crystal Bite, and it's managed to maintain that pressure and close out the game with a clean rotation of moves without having to rest or switch out.
And after that, Turby's just like, all right, I'm gonna tap out here as Kanzaki takes it home with our first game of the finals here. How is Turby going to recover from this one? It looks like Kanzaki's got a number of threats that Turby really has to deal with in ways that aren't just picking a wide variety of toxic Tems for Urushiol.
Yeah,
And
I
once
think...
again, the burst damage versus Urushiol plays come into their own here. The problem is, yes, Urushiol takes you down, but you got to survive long enough for them to get taken down. It's very similar to Extinction in that way.
I do think that Turby has a fairly negative team matchup into Kanzaki's team, because he is relying on a lot of that poison, and Kanzaki's team is just so much more high tempo that the damage is able to come down much quicker than the poison takes slowly burn through. And honestly, I would say Kanzaki's likely to win this matchup.
You don't think it's going to go to a game 3? We could, like, one of the things we could consider here is, what if that Mudrid was there? Do we think that that would change things significantly?
It's possible. I would say so. I think I could be wrong with the outcome, but I do think Kanzaki has the much stronger team matchup here. The Sweatband Gallus itself is a large factor in Kanzaki's wins here. Because once that gets set up, it's very difficult to stop it. Because all you really have to stop it is a Hypnosis going before it, or a Mashuk tanking it.
Yeah, and neither of those are really ideal in that situation.
Because if we look at Turby's team, like, what can tank a hit?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm currently in. If we look at Kanzaki's, well, Turby's team, sorry, there's basically nothing that can take you Gallus.
As you can see here, we have a peak performance Luma Bigu straight on stream right now rather than our final match for reasons. This is how our Odin is a fantastic Bigu. I agree that Dangio has like a fantastic specimen right here. I mean, look at that. That's basically fully TLO'd. We do see a Yukama ban on Turby's side, which does mean it's possible that Mudrid could come through. Our dreams could be alive here. First pick could be luring out the Kinu Gallus lead to get that out there. We could get our wish.
I'm thinking that, yeah, Kinu Gallus. I would have suggested that Turby ban the Gallus because there's just no surviving that with this team.
Know that it has Sweatband. I think that that's a very good call there to ban that as well, because as you say, it like the biggest problem with Sweatband Gallus is if it gets banned, that's everything gone. But the problem is Turby's running Toxic. You have to auto ban the Valorant because it just runs circles around this team. There's no Two-Vine here. There's very little sort of response to an anaerobic Valorant.
So we see an Urushiol opener from Turby.
Dislike. I mean, I only say that because I really want to see the Mudrid there. Like, this is a very powerful opener, especially against this. It's still very functional. Does its job very well. I want to see me some jank, but I don't know how well we're going to see that. I think he wants to see the Raze get picked before he actually picks that, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think you would wait until there's two things. Well, there are two things it's super effective against already.
I mean, yeah, that's the thing. It's good against Kinu and Gallus, but, you know, that Whiplump's just like, oh, go on, pick that charming little bunny. And Mashuk's already going to be able to uppercut it into the Shadow Realm, so, like, there's problems there.
Yes, it looks like it's not going to get picked. Gallus thrashens it, Mashuk thrashens it, Whiplump thrashens it. I don't see us seeing a Mudrid in the finals.
Tales is passionate in chat, being like, please pick it. We'll see what happens here. We do see the Two-Vine out there. I think that the Nidrasil, yeah, that's probably for the best.
Yep. I agree, the Nidrasil can poison 4 things here, and that's kind of its job. You could make an argument that you could make the Spores Cleric play into predicted high toes, but you're still taking +2 Gallus damage.
Yeah, that's a very senior plat thing, but we haven't seen Turby really ape that the same way.
Yeah, so I'm going to hijack this turn 1, because we know Gallus is going to heat up, and we know there's an Arusio coming out anyway. There's not much to talk about here. I want to talk about Turby's team. Turby does not have very strong openers. All of Turby's openers are very, very low tempo. They don't put out high direct damage threat on turn 1. And this is what's allowing Kanzaki to always consistently leave the Gallus Kinu and always be able to set up that heat up without any fear of damage. So we can see already, it's the end of turn 1 and it's taken 36% with 2 poison ticks left, and it's +2. It's now free to do whatever it wants. And really... because Turby's team composition does not allow for a strong turn 1.
Yeah, it just doesn't quite have what it need. Like, when I look at Turby's team, I think, what if there was a 2-Vine on this squad? What would that be doing instead here, right?
I mean, just because Gallus Kinu is that dumb, still nothing.
Well,
but
all I'm saying is it would give a bit more physical pressure at that first onset. Like, it's hard to say, yes, I'm going to slot this Mastion onto my full Toxic team. I understand that. Like, this is the setup, and you got to kind of double down on that, and it works very well under certain matchups. It's important to note, though, that tournament play and ladder are 2 very different environments. Auto-banning a Tem isn't necessarily something you want to do when you're scouting.
No, it's not.
And we do see a bit more pressure onto this boy, but we are already seeing how 2 Kinu buffs just render Gallus an impenetrable fortress of suffering. This thing is just... It doesn't care about your puny HKS. You have no speed buffs. You have no power here. As the sweatband just chugs along. A Feather Gap might do enough if they double in again, but the problem is Stabs is up. I think
you can actually KO Gallus here. It's not possible. Because at most you're going to see a Tsunami coming from Plat, but Tsunami will be survived because of that Revitalized.
Yeah, no, this is a very... It's back against the wall here once again as Raid Boss Gallus just annihilates puny opposition. I'm a little surprised that John Cena isn't being seen here. We see another quick swap into Zephy, as a matter of fact. It looks like Kanzaki's just as surprised as we are as we see the beta burst onto that, which does take out Zephy regardless. I wonder if that was potentially intended for a Mashuk that didn't make it to the battlefield here. But Platimus is not going to be hitting with Synergy. Doesn't need it against the Kinu, but it's a lot of damage for not quite taking out a Kinu there.
Yeah, so I think that was a somewhat smart play on Turby's side. Turby knew that whatever was in the slot next to it wasn't going to be surviving the turn, so went for the Arushiel to put Kinu into range to go down to that Arushiel rather than a following one. So Kinu can revitalize this Gallus again, which will have enough stamina for another Crystal Bite, so Platimus could be going down, or a Haiteruchi could be
sharp step into the Platimus, taking out that threat. And we see the tank onto Gallus doing, unfortunately, I mean, the poison procs are there. That's damage, but is it enough?
No. So, here we have Sweatband Gallus doing what Sweatband Gallus does. It's taken out, what, 2 times now?
Yeah, no, and it's a bus that won't slow down. It refuses. Another thing to consider here in terms of this, so we do finally see the mushroom hit the field. I just worry that perhaps that was too late. That needed to soak some of these hits that hit 2 Tems just the grave. With
both Tems that were lost here bring a Rushiel pressure, so now only Nidrasil is available for Mashuk to Rushiel off of. So by losing those two, Mashuk's effectiveness has drastically dropped.
That's the problem with Rushiel being your main form of pressure in this instance. Like, as I keep saying, it's good damage, but it can't be your only source.
Yeah, and that's the issue with Turby's team here. It is the only source of damage.
Which, I mean, the problem we're seeing here is that there's still 5 Tems up on Kenzaki's side. Yeah, that Kinu's super low. Yeah, it's going down, but that Whiplump, that Two-Vine, they're both a lot of pressure against this team, and there's nothing that's happened to them. Because look, now the Whiplump, the Mashuk is coming out. All right.
Whiplump needs a free turn to switch, but it can't against these two. One of them needs to leave.
That's a point, actually. Especially, yeah, if that Urushiol had hit that Whiplump, it would have been a sad, sad time. The Mashuk eating the Urushiol is just another way in which Kenzaki's shutting this team down.
Yeah, it was a very strong Mashuk switch here. Taking just a grand total of 11.3% damage.
Oh, man. And the Two-Vines coming in as well. Further scaring off some of these Tems. This Nidrasil's in a tight spot.
Yeah, so Nidrasil is very comfortably going to be taking a...
Another thing to note
P-Jab Feather Gap. Kinu could come in and it could buff up the Mushuk, but although it resists the P-Jab, Kinu will still then take approximately 35-40% from the following Feather Gap. And if the read is made, Kinu goes down here.
This is the first Kinu swap we've seen this entire game, though. I mean, this is kind of my other questions that I've seen here is like, you want that Kinu bouncing in and out, giving you your protector buffs. I'm not trying to backseat here. I'm just like, it feels like it didn't do as much as it potentially could have.
No, it hasn't.
Now, granted, up against a Gallus is very intimidating, putting that kind of thing up against the wall, but like, I feel like a Kinu buff may have saved the lives of a couple of Turby's Tems here.
True, although because the Gallus holds Sweatband, there's no safe turn in which you can bring the Kinu in.
Oh,
whereas if you're playing against a non-Sweatband Gallus, you can rely on it running out of stamina, which gives you the opportunity to bring the Kinu in.
Turby's just put all his cards on the table, sacrifices onto John Cena, saying, "This is my way out of this." Just gonna punch that bird, see what he can do. It's gonna take another one of those to knock him down, but in the meantime, fortunately, that means Parrier is gonna turn it into quite the fortress there. I can only wonder if perhaps a Feather Gap would do more there.
A Feather Gap would definitely have done more there, although I think the CPG was aimed at the Kinu, not expecting a sacrifice to come in, especially at such high levels of health.
No, certainly. I'm curious about the speed of that sacrifice, but I think that Kinu was probably going down either way.
Yeah, it was definitely going down either way, so sacrifice was definitely the best choice there. There's the P-Jab Feather Gap I predicted a few turns ago. Definitely taking out the Nidrasil. There's no way Mashuk can win this, even though Uppercut's going to be taking out Two-Vine.
Oh, at this point, Whiplump's just like, allow me to introduce myself, and Blizzard tornadoes into oblivion.
Yeah, so...
No, we see the Gallus just saying, okay, fine, try to take me on.
Yeah, so I would expect what we're going to see here is the Gallus goes for a high toe to put the Mashuk to sleep, while the Whiplump comes in to get the whole turns up. Goes straight for the Crystal Bite, okay.
Okay, so the Crystal Bite, I mean, we're seeing the power of the sack here, right? Like, that alongside the Protector buff means John Cena here is looking very strong at +3 on both defenses, and that does help it here. Whoa, is this just like, is this a reverse BM? He's like, all right, you're not switching here. You just got to take me on.
Yeah, this looks like Turby knows this game is over.
Yeah, I think Turbino understands what's happening here, but this is some big boy spine stuff. Just being like, yeah, you know what? Screw this. he concedes immediately afterwards, saying like, yeah, there's no way I'm taking on the rest of that team. And in 2 fell swoops, Kanzaki takes 120 euros today. Congratulations to him. I mean, that was some terrifying stuff. Sweatband Gallus, man. Sweatband Gallus.
Yes. This was a very strong showcase of what Sweatband Gallus is capable of doing. It's very strong against these slow damage over time reliant teams or buff reliant teams. It's not too bad against the Turbo Hypno teams because they're spending half of their turns not doing damage because they're putting you to sleep or using Turbo. Sweatband Gallus being able to maintain its stamina all that time and having resistance is what makes it a strong option into those teams, especially if you get Kinu buffs onto it. So I think that's why it's entered the meta, and it just so happened that in the finals it met its perfect matchup.
No, certainly. The fact that Kanzaki brought that kind of immediate burst damage against a slow dot comp really helped them seal the deal here.
Yes, this is why I said I think Kanzaki had it, because the team matchup was so one-sided that I didn't think there's any tools that Turby had on their team that had any way to bring it back. You'd need to completely redo all of your team's movesets and TV spreads to have a chance.
Yeah, no, that's a whole thing. Dead Foxtails coming out there saying that the cage was indeed big dick energy was quite true there.
Yes.
I feel like about the only thing that Turby could do there was flex for the few turns that were left.
Yeah, I agree. At least gotta go out with style.
Either way, though, it was really interesting seeing some of these matchups. Big props to all the contestants who came today. 32 people, where the game is at the moment. That's actually a fantastic number of really good players just coming there and competing in the way that they have. Yeah. We saw a bunch of big names in the Swiss just giving it their all, 110% and all that. Like, it's heartwarming to see.
Yeah, we saw a lot of big names. All players in the top 8 I recognized. They're all big names in the community right now, whether it's through Club Wars or just being big on ladder. I wasn't surprised to see what I saw today at all. I was surprised to see Scunch, and I was also disappointed not to see Scunch in finals.
Yes, it would have been wonderful seeing Scunch in finals. I'm sad that our Scunch boys were pitted against each other. I think that's the biggest problem with that. Like, imagine if they were seated separately inside this, right? Like, if we had Ken versus Gold, and Gold somehow made it through instead, like, that would have been something. I mean, I don't know how well that would have done against Sweatband Gallus, but, like, Scunch at least eats the high toes. It's at least something. But we saw Cody coming in with the extinction again. We saw CMAS bringing mix, which is very rare these days.
Yeah, there was the one mix. We never really got to see much of the mix.
No, sadly. It's at least when I was spectating it, the last thing that I saw was it basically just there on its own. At the end of the match, not having really taken much damage and not being able to continue pressuring with the CS as it needed to.
Yeah, that was the issue.
I suppose the other problem there is the issue that there's just so much spread going around these days. When we start seeing things like Loali come out there and Whiplump on so many teams throwing Tsunami around, it's really hard for Mix to stay alive in PM range.
Yeah. We've got so much Tsunami, we've got the occasional allergic spread. The rise in Nidrasil, I think, is the one thing that hit Mix.
Yeah. No, those are things.
Because 37.5 to 40% is only 2.5%. Is allergic spread doing 2.5% to Mix? Yes, definitely. Which means an allergic spread on a Mix that is in Puppet Master range already is a guaranteed KO.
A quick shout out in terms of one of the coolest elements of that. Oh, Arkham Knight, quickly, just reminding you on stream, Kanzaki walked away with the win. But in terms of like spread versus mix. One of the matches that comes back to my mind was like back in Club Wars versus Divine, Enigma coming in there with like the 5 spread team with a Saku with allergic spread and 2 meteor swarms, like specifically just designed to end any mix that wanted to PM.
Yeah, I think that may have been the build that was behind the Madrid that we never saw, because they can run Earthwave for mix. Because I feel like in a game where mix exists, if you don't have at least one spread move on your team, you've made a mistake.
You know, that's a point. We didn't see any other spread on Turby's team. It would have been interesting finding out what that moveset was, or even what that spread was. In the meantime, though, we'd like to thank you all for coming here and watching our stream today. We hope that everybody enjoyed seeing the semifinals into the finals of this minor cup and seeing Kanzaki walk away with the prize. We hope that you'll come see us in Temporium again at some point. Once again, I have been Porter, and this has been my co-host, Causation.
Yo, it's Gunch Boy here.
We hope to see you again very soon.